today we're going to talk to you about a business that we think can change the way people learn. It's called Smarter by the Day. But first I want to talk to you about habits. I think that's a concept that all of us understand. Habits are things that we do, often little things that we don't even really think about. They're baked into our routine, our daily, weekly routine, and they're completely automatic. And there's a lot of power in habits, but that power isn't in the individual act. Any single instance of a habitual act doesn't really do anything. The power really lies in the repetition and time, doing it over and over again over time. So a perfect example is the stairs here. So if you take one step, that doesn't put you much closer to the top. But if you take step after step, steadily, methodically working your way, you can climb the whole way to the top. And the reason I'm telling you this is I just want to highlight the importance of habits and how even a small habit, something that you repeat many times over a length of time, can have a significant impact on your life. So next I'm going to talk to you about a problem that I think many of us have, and that is we want to better ourselves. We want to learn new things, acquire new skills, but we just lack the time to do it. We're busy. We have busy jobs, families, other obligations in our lives, and we just can't find the time to sit down and do it. And when we do have small windows of time, we often fill it with things like social media or watching videos or playing games on our phones, things that are completely valueless. And this problem isn't new, and others have tried to solve it. One of the keys is learning in smaller increments, something called micro-learning. And currently there are a number of learning solutions on the market, like Headway and Blinkist, that attempt to solve this, but they all come up short in one big way. They're all very limited. They're limited in that they're basically just book summary apps. So they, think like Cliff's Notes or Spark Notes. So they only exist for a limited number of titles on an even more limited number of topics. Additionally, the content is static, meaning it is what it is. So if you consume one of these books and the content is too summary, it's too high level, tough, go buy the book. And conversely, if it's the other way, if it's too detailed, you got two choices. You can either keep going or stop, but there's nothing you can really do about it. So Matt and I have set out to solve this problem by leveraging the power of generative AI. Smarter by the Day gives you the opportunity to build a habit of continuous education, continuous learning, by making it intuitive and fun and adaptable. So one of the things that we're doing is our product will deliver content, micro content, multimedia content on any topic that you can think of, literally anything. It gives you the ability to change the level of detail dynamically, so you can zoom in or zoom out. It gives you the ability to explore other related topics. It really is focused on adapting to your specific needs so that you can get the most out of it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt to talk a little bit more about our vision, kind of where we're at now and where we're headed. Matt?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so as Mark was saying, we spent the last 14 months or so developing and really extending a micro-learning platform. And our target audience is not just the general public, but also business owners, especially corporations who have integrated learning management systems. Our focus is really what sets us apart. We create these individualized learning paths on any topic that someone wants using generative AI. And that could be something as detailed as quantum physics, it could be the history of Harrisburg, it could be how to build a sustainable house. It doesn't really matter. Basically, enter your topic into Smarter by the Day, and Smarter by the Day does the rest. So how does this all work? Well, on the screen behind me, you can see on the left-hand side, we have our content scheduler, and this is on our new app that we're currently developing. You can basically enter up to 3 different topics of your choice, choose when you want to receive that micro content. Let's say you're dropping your kids off at school in the morning, there might be a long car rider line, you have a couple minutes in the car where you can actually do something. Basically, say maybe Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning, I want content to be delivered. At that time, you get a notification on your phone, and then on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see an example of what that content looks like. This is what the micro content is that you can then consume. And for this example, we have about 200 words of content, which is about the amount of words that most people can read in about a minute. And then we also have multimedia there as well. And you can see there's a picture of, in this case, this is the history of Harrisburg. That's an AI-generated image of the state capitol, obviously. And that can just be not only static content, but also can be animation or full motion video. And if you don't want to read, you can actually have Smarter by the Day read it to you. So you can basically just listen. And then on the bottom of the screen is something Mark was talking about. Let's say you want to go and dive deeper into this topic. We have suggested topic suggestions on the bottom of the screen. You simply click the magnifying glass to zoom in, or you can zoom out, and you can change that learning path. And you can always go back to your original topic, or you can delve deeper into the topic or go more broad. It's one of the really cool and interesting things about our solution. But what's behind the app? As Mark mentioned, I kind of alluded to, we use generative AI. And as many of you know, this field is absolutely exploding right now. And we've taken the conscious decision not to basically tie our bootstraps to any one particular model. We're basically platform agnostic. We want to let the big players battle out for supremacy. We don't want to have any part of that. We can use any model that's out there. We can also generate our own, especially for businesses who have domain-specific content. We can basically ingest that content and then deliver it through Smarter by the Day. And as many of you probably know, hallucinations are a real big problem with AI. Anyone who's used some of the more popular models might have even experienced this yourself. And we have a solution for that as well. So we have a scalable solution that allows humans to actually validate all the content before it's delivered to our customers. We found this out the hard way and found out that we really needed to solve this problem. We spent some time doing that this past summer. And now we have a scalable solution that allows our content to be validated 100% by humans before it gets delivered to our customers. We hope going forward, that's not going to be the case. These models are getting better. And also, as time goes on, we have a greater corpus of knowledge and corpus of validated topics that we hope that's something that will go by the wayside in the near future. We have a payment system that's fully functional. We have authorization and authentication. Of course, we spent a lot of time on the AI part of this, generating the content, validating the content. In May of last year, we basically launched an alpha. And that was basically to friends and family. And that was to solicit feedback, get some early user knowledge about how we can make our product better. And we took that information over the course of the summer and now really are focused on making our app that you saw some screenshots of a couple of minutes ago. The problem is that this has so far been completely bootstrapped by the two of us. So this is a lot of long nights, a lot of weekends, looking at our strategy, making adjustments, especially after the alpha. We learned a lot from those beta or alpha testers that we had. And we're at the point now where we're really trying to get out the MVP, or minimal viable product. And that's basically a product with the least amount of features that someone's willing to pay for. We know that as we're looking for funding, having that at least some revenue, even if it's slight, goes a long way to convincing investors that we have a sustainable business. And that's really our focus. So we're looking at hiring additional software developers, but also looking at raising that funding so we can get to that next level and accelerate our strategy as quickly as possible. So that really concludes our presentation. We hope you learned a little bit about Smarter by the Day. We kind of gave you the 30,000-foot view overview, and hopefully you share the excitement that we have about this space and about what we're doing. And we also wanted to kind of take this opportunity to thank Merge for this opportunity and thank all of you for listening. And in closing, just one question to the audience. If you have experience with early stage funding, what advice can you give us? And secondly, just any general advice we'd be happy to receive it and learn from you as well.
So I'm building a SaaS app, been building it for a few years. I mean, it's already built. And I started it with convertible note from somebody I know. And all the advice I've gotten so far, because we're seeking more funding, is that at the early stage, you convertible note is the best vehicle to use to get funding, because you don't have to value your company. Because whatever you value your company at right now, it'll be too low. And you'll wind up giving more of your company away than you should. So that's the advice I got. It's the trick to get early stage funding without having to, guarantee a percentage of the company, which can be a dance, but the convertible note's a good vehicle for that.
My kind of high level sort of fundraising advice for first funding would be, the thing that investors tend to care most about is traction. And when because you mentioned, MVP, maybe being able to monetize at that point. Yeah, to the extent that you do have revenue, that tends to be like the most important traction metric. But anything else that's a quantitative KPI that would correlate with like growth. So as you move from like your closed alpha to maybe like an open beta or something like that, just kind of showing that, growth in number of users, kind of the percent that are active users, the sort of retention, like those kind of figures, to the extent that you're still pre-revenue, anything that's quantitative, that is kind of a growth oriented and could eventually translate into future revenue that would grow, I think is kind of the most important thing to spotlight. And, a pitch deck would be totally different than this one to present kind of to an investor, but my opinions differ like on these things, but I always think like problem, solution, product, and then just go straight to traction. Because once the investor kind of wraps their head around, okay, what is it that your business actually does, problem, solution, products, the next thing is what is the state of the business today? And that's kind of what you capture on your traction slide. So that's kind of how I would frame, even pre-revenue, and then when you have revenue, that's the traction metric to focus on.
There's a lot of funds for grants for AI subject. So definitely not going to skip that, because the grants, as you know, is not dilute to your shares or your companies. So take advantage of that and make sure where you locate, you're located at Harrisburg, and make sure you stop by the Harrisburg office. And there's a lot of tools can help you with that, especially also SCORE. So they will give you a lot of help, and the local investors, right? Yeah, that's my advice. Make sure take advantage of the grants.
This is something, again, I was doing early on when I was trying to talk to investors. I was always trying to come up with these revenue projections, which everybody knows are just bullshit, right? They're just made up numbers, and they're big and they're too giant. They don't mean anything. And what I learned recently, I went to a startup conference about 6 or 7 months ago. And so when you're looking for metrics, like Dustin mentioned, look for non-revenue metrics, like amount of seconds in the app or amount of minutes in the app. Not just downloads from the App Store, but any kind of interaction inside the app that shows people are using it more this week than they did last week, more this month than last month. So trying to find metrics like that is what I'm working on with my stuff right now.
I have another idea. I think, of course, the team, you definitely build a good team, but add more team members that just line up that also traction part of it. A lot of founders, didn't think that's attraction. Actually, it is, because if your idea is great, the first of your investor actually is your employees who believes your vision, maybe take a little bit of money or maybe equity only. So that is a really good part of to show traction as well as a fund. So this is another type of funding. So just consider that, please.
I work for a large multinational SaaS provider and have graciously been asked to develop some content for our company. And I'm just curious what some of those names might be.
Our focus, to be honest, has really been on kind of the public rollout, the consumer rollout initially. But we do have that in our sights, and that's really something we want to accelerate towards. And that's really, again, part of the ask for funding on our part is so that we can bring that to fruition a little bit faster. Yeah,
and we've even discussed whether or not that's the better direction to go than the direction that we're currently headed. But at this point, what we're doing is basically applicable in either direction. So like nothing that we're doing is going to be lost, but there might be a reason to pivot in that direction.